On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we are talking all about Discovery 409, Rubicon, after these messages from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where two lifelong friends who've been watching Star Trek together their whole lives talk about it and you get to listen. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Robertson.
What is happening, my friend?
Man, we've had some weather.
Yes, we have. You were supposed to be on our Peacemaker episode earlier, and then I called you. I was like, hey, you ready to get on that episode? And you're like, I'm sheltering. I'm like hiding in my basement.
No. I was out. I was not even at home.
Oh, where were you sheltering then?
I was at Publix.
Oh, wow. That's some sheltering right there.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It got a little real. I had a prescription.
Oh, to pick up?
Yeah, and then the shit hit the fan.
Dang. Yeah, I was driving back from Dallas to Birmingham, Alabama today, so I drove 10 hours, and the last hour or so of the trip, as I pulled through Alabama, I kept getting alerts on my phone of like, tornado warning, tornado watch, flash flood warning, and I was just like, I don't know what I should do, because there's nothing around here, it's the middle of nowhere, and I was just like, do I keep driving toward Birmingham? If I stop, am I putting myself in more danger or less? I was like calling Alyssa, my girlfriend, and I was just like, hey, what can you look at the weather maps of what's happening right now? Because I don't know where I am, or if I'm heading into it or away from it, or if I should keep going or if I should pull over. I don't know what's going on. And she's like, where are you? And I was like, I don't know.
Dude, that is a lot like last year in March. I was like heading from Montgomery to Birmingham, excitedly trying to get back to watch the debut of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Ooh. And just the shit fell out, man. And I just like wound up underneath a bridge somewhere on the interstate.
Dang.
and my wife was like, where are you? I'm like, I can't see anything. It's like, I'm going to die today. I seriously did. Like, I got like it let up just enough for me to get right down the road to like a Love's. And then I was like sheltering at a Love's, waiting on this horrible storm to get out, while like sitting there with headphones on my phone, watching like the pre-show thing, like the little live pre-show with Kevin Smith for Snyder's League.
That's funny, man. Yeah, I was, yeah, it's crazy. You're out there on the road, and there were a lot of people on the road. So I was like, I guess if there's something really bad, I guess more people would get off the road. I don't know. I guess, or maybe I'm being a lemming here. I don't know, man. Did you know? I heard this recently. I don't know. Check if it's true or not. Lemmings don't run off cliffs together. That's like not a thing.
I've never looked into it.
And apparently it became a thing because like whoever was making that wildlife documentary, I guess there is something where they follow each other a lot or something, like they pack together or something. And so they wanted to make it a thing, like they wanted to make a point that they would like, I guess like, if your friend jumped off a bridge, would you too? So they did, and they like, that was apparent, the footage that we've all seen of lemmings jumping off of a cliff from like back in the day, it's like old footage, was like some fucking asshole dumping a bunch of lemmings off of a truck off of a cliff.
Oh my God. I've never seen that footage.
I have not substantiated this. This is some like, I trusted the source. It was some like, generally trustworthy source, but I honestly, I heard it last week. I was like, what the hell? Really?
Yeah. Like we got this covered, or Fox News.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. My chosen sources. The Onion. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it was worse. It was Clickhole, wasn't it?
But no, I have seen that footage. Like back in high school, some documentary that's like talking about lemmings falling off a cliff, and like apparently that footage is like BS. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into it.
It's probably the reason they have to put up things on movies now. No animals were harmed in the making of this film.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that shit in the old days, man. They didn't do. They didn't have those. Those warnings were not all the rage.
Just dump them out of a truck. We're trying to save the kids of America here.
Yeah, I don't know what they were trying to do. Anyway, I need to look into it because right now I'm just spreading
misinformation.
Yeah,
possibly.
whatever possible misinformation.
Fake news, as they say.
Possibly. but I'm admitting it, so that's at least like, you know.
You're halfway there.
Yeah, better than most. All right. So let's talk about Star Trek. You want to talk about Discovery?
Sure. That sounds reasonable.
This Rubicon episode.
Crossing the Rubicon, man. Point of no return.
Mm-hmm. What and you know, Tarka forced their hand into crossing it this episode. For if you're watching this in the distant future, this is the episode where Book and Tarka are trying to destroy the DMA, and the Discovery crew is trying to stop them. And we have the return of Nan, who has a new breathing apparatus, which was cool. And she's a security officer now, and she's put in charge of making sure Michael pulls the trigger if she needs to, even though she has the personal connection with Book. Taking over the mission if she seems compromised. I thought this episode was super fun Star Trek. Like, it reminded me of the old days of the submarine battles that like is so much fun in like Wrath of Khan or whatnot. But updated and you know, like, obviously better effects and better like time, more modern timing and stuff. I just really enjoyed it. It reminded me a lot of those. We haven't had just like a ship versus a ship, and like the old days, like when it's not always. There's a certain smirk that Kirk gets when he like has his enemy trapped or he thinks he knows what he's supposed to do, and I feel like new Star Trek kind of loses that sometimes, where you feel like every battle is a dire battle. But this was interesting because it was like this sort of sparring session between two ship mates that like knew each other's tactics really well, and I really enjoyed like the Michael and Book being like, if I pull this little trick, she'll do this, and I bet she's over there, and I bet he's over there. You know, it was just fun. I really enjoyed it.
It was great because I felt like you felt the love between them, and like they were enjoying themselves. Even though this was a dire situation, they were enjoying themselves.
Tarka's like, why are you smiling?
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it. I thought the pacing was really good. And it's a little frustrating because, you know, at the end of the episode, we didn't really make it very far. Like, it was a whole lot of stuff for a whole lot of nothing.
Well, yes, you know, we spoke about that last week where like a lot happened and nothing really moved. But this episode, at least, like, the weapon has been discharged. They have made first contact, as they say. Yeah. And it was a violent first contact, but it was also apparently their greatest weapon that they thought was going to do such damage did nothing.
Yeah, they changed that shit out like they were changing a light bulb, man.
Yeah.
They were just like, oh shit, we had a fuse blown. Here we go.
Power sources on the other side of the wormhole, and whoever 10C is, just flip the switch back on. You know, they're just still rolling with their DMA, still searching for all the boronite.
I loved it. I loved that. Like, that was just
great
like
twist.
It was frustrating, but I feel like in a good way. Yeah. Like, yeah, we were about to square one, but oh my God, we're about to square one. All of that.
It has a great science fiction feeling of a lot of the like Twilight Zone episodes where like it's just like, we're just still trapped. You know, there's no getting out of this.
Yeah. Like, damn it, those damn hornets built a nest inside of one of our fuse boxes. Now go flush them out and flip the switch again. I mean, my damn.
Yeah. So whoever 10C is very powerful. And, Tarka is the best shot they had, and they chose not to take it. And Tarka went rogue, took the shot, and it still did nothing to interrupt their plans.
Yeah, and I really liked there was a bit of a spotlight on Tarka this episode. We kind of got more of his true colors than I think we've ever gotten before. While at the same time, like, this is a completely viable complaint that I've seen for this episode about how Tarka is a really dumb guy, because even though he's really smart, people say like, oh man, he created a defense mechanism that uses programmable matter to destroy an invasive force, but he doesn't give it an off switch. So once it started, but to me, yes, that's dumb, but to me, that's also like so Tarka. Like, that was like a perfect representation of Tarka. Dude is so reckless. He has no foresight. He's so sure of himself. He's actually a detriment to himself.
Well, there's also another way to look at that, too, is he's on a ship with a guy he knows will pull punches. Mm-hmm. So he set up a defense mechanism that he can't pull. So if Book wants to pull that back...
That's a good point, man.
Yeah, like, he's just like, no. I'm not pulling that.
See, I was seeing it as like, tying into like him trying to destroy the DMA, for his own gain without realizing or without caring, hey, this could go sideways real easy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's definitely a fair point, that he could he's just like not thinking things through, not giving himself options. He decides on a course of action, and that's just the action he will take. He doesn't give himself multiple options, because he thinks whatever he decides is going to be right. And in both of these cases, that was not the case. Except I do think there's a case you made that he made that decision because he's like, yeah, Book will take this programmable matter back if I'll let him. So I'll just set it up so that he can't stop it.
Yeah, it is a good point.
Thank you.
But I dug it for the reasons I said.
Mine's more thematic. Mine's more logical. What are we arguing about? They both work.
Yeah, they do. Why can't it be both? I loved that we got Nielsen and Reese and Bryce all arguing over what they thought should be going on. And Saru kept stomping him down and but I love seeing character interaction and actual depth, some modicum of depth to these other bridge crew members that we get so very little of.
Well, it's just nice to see that what Book is, the course of action Book is chosen is not so off course that the normal people of the Federation look at him and think he's crazy. It totally makes sense to want to stop these people at all costs. They're just the 10C is destroying so much of their galaxy. It's totally viable option to meet them with force, but it could, you could easily see this where it's it's just a rogue and we're all good soldiers. And it's, I just like that Discovery decides to flesh out the crew in a way that everyone is a real person that agrees or disagrees with the captain's decisions,
With this episode, yeah. Normally we don't ever hear from these people.
True.
It's really aggravating.
Well, I think that Discovery, more than most Star Trek, is better about letting the people on the ship have disagreements. But I agree with you, having nameless characters who are just on a little, side mission arguing about the captain's orders, that's pretty bold and pretty neat choice.
Well, they have names. They've had a few lines over the last 4 years.
I don't know them. Therefore, they don't exist.
We didn't get an episode dedicated to one of their cats, so there's no Data's Day here.
No. But yeah, great episode. I just can't wait to see what who 10C is. Like, I'm ready to find out, like, who is the man behind the curtain, who is the man behind the wormhole.
I was talking to Stu Little, and
our listener.
Yes, one of our listeners, Stu. One of our 3 listeners. And
so people know that is a joke. We do have, there are hundreds of you out there listening, and we love you. But It's funny because Stu is the one who's written in multiple times, so he is our listener. Yeah. He's our one listener.
Right. And he was basically saying he was thinking that the 10C would just wind up going like, "Oh, cool! we didn't know we were doing all this. Let's stop this." And I'm just like, dude, I really hope they don't go. I hope the 10C are just like, I don't care. Like, I want to see the big battle. I want to see, them dealing with these forces that are like so far beyond our imagination. But I get the feeling, 1, we won't see the 10C, and 2, that it'll all come down to an inspirational hope speech from Burnham broadcasting into the freaking galactic barrier. And the DMA will disappear.
Yeah.
And hope will be restored or whatever.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm hoping they do something a little more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I do think you're not far off. I think that we'll get, some sort of interaction with them. They have to make some sort of overture to them and prove themselves worthy of saving and prove their universe worthy of saving. But even communicating with a species at that level of sophistication is going to be difficult. And I don't even know if, I think of like the wormhole aliens and these different species we've known in the course of Star Trek that are so far above humans that they exist beyond our knowledge. And how confusing and hard and metaphorical those episodes often get. And I'm really curious if that's what we're heading towards. Are we heading towards telepathic communication, that's going to be confusing as hell, the wormhole aliens? Or are we going to, find aliens that are a billion times, are we going to expand out and see that our galaxy exists in a petri dish?
Or is it going to be like the original series where it's like 5 brains in glass jars that are like, in our galaxy shit got too real, so we came to yours as brains.
And our brains need boronite. And the last episode of the season is called The Boronite Brain, and that's very much an original series episode.
I love the original series. I'm not saying I don't. If you're a new listener, it's my second favorite series, and it really is tied with DS9 in a lot of ways. But I love that. I love that retro shit. Like, that's some of my favorite kind of sci-fi, where it's just like, here's a brain in a jar.
No explanation to how this works.
Our technology is so advanced you'd never understand why our brain is in a jar. Cool. That works.
Yeah, sure. Brains in jars. At some point, magic is just science we don't understand, right?
You know what? It's like how much I love the ending of Crank 2, where it's like the bad guy is just like a head in a jar, on top of that roof.
Yeah.
Why is he on top of a roof?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I love the Crank movies, man. Those are so ridiculous. Those are so... and the second one, I can't, the first one is so utterly ridiculous, and the fact that the second one takes it up a notch is...
Yeah, it does.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Anyway.
Go check out the Crank movies, guys. Yeah, they're not Star Trek-like at all.
Except I just totally explained why it was like Star Trek. At least the original series.
That one element, yeah.
So I just gave you guys perfect reasons to never listen to me again. I'm like, I like when Star Trek is hokey and bullshit, like the Crank movies. Go check out the Crank movies. You're going to see more brains in jars.
I like the worst thing about Star Trek.
I think we all know the worst thing about Star Trek is the fans.
Yeah, fuck you guys.
Like and comment if you agree.
Thank you for listening. Fuck off. No. I don't know that this is a good tactic for gaining new listeners. If you think it is, hit us up at StarTrekUcast@gmail.com.
I don't care anymore. If you don't care anymore, like and comment below.
Anytime we say something really offensive about the fans, let's make sure to plug the email. I strive for negative feedback. What else are we missing? What have we not talked about?
May I say that I am curious. They said the USS Mitchell was monitoring the DMA.
Yeah.
And the DMA comes from beyond the galactic barrier. I was just wondering if that was some sort of small reference to Gary Mitchell, who, as we remember in Where No Man Has Gone Before, as we remember. I just pushed up my glasses.
The first post-pilot episode, right?
Yeah, the second pilot episode. Gary Mitchell was Kirk's best friend, lieutenant commander on board the Enterprise, who went mad after going through the galactic barrier. Pray to me, Jim. Pray to me, Jim. Even as a god, his big deal, what he wants is he wants to nail that hot doctor lady.
I mean, don't we all?
And then he wants to put his best friend in his place. I'm gonna make you kneel to me, you jackass. So it's man, you're a petty god.
What does a god need with a starship?
Yeah, I want to get that intergalactic tail.
What does a god need with a hot nurse lady?
What does a god need with Hot Lips Houlihan from the MASH movie? Right.
Well, yeah, great. Were there any other sort of Easter eggy type stuff in this episode?
I didn't see anything that I really took note of. I really did. I liked everything. I liked that Non was there to hold Michael in place. I thought that was a good decision on Vance's part. I enjoyed seeing her again. They seem to indicate that she'd be back next season.
Or at some point, yeah. I also like that they lost. I like a good loss. I like when the protagonists lose.
Yeah. Why Infinity War was my favorite Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Until the new Spider-Man movie came out.
Well, and everybody's favorite Star Wars is Return of the Jedi.
No. Return of the Jedi is a happy ending.
Oh, I'm sorry. Everyone's favorite Star Wars is Empire. My bad. That's what I meant to say. This is the Star Trek podcast. I'm allowed to make those mistakes.
Yeah.
I would normally edit that, but I'm not gonna. I feel like this is a safe space to not know about Star Wars.
I'm fine with it.
It's great. It gives you depth to a show when you allow the heroes to lose, and when you allow the heroes to die, when you allow the heroes to go through things, when you allow the heroes to mess up. And in this case, we got all of that stuff with Book going off book, as it were. Michael, really giving him way too much rope. You know what I mean? Really going way too far. And Non keeps telling her, hey, you gotta pull him in. And she just keeps pushing and pushing.
But Non was wrong.
How was Non wrong?
She was wrong because Book did, turn around and be wait, no, we're not gonna do this. Yeah, Tarka was a loose cannon.
Sure. But they were both wrong. It's they didn't think about the fact that Tarka's sitting there next to him. You know what I mean? Book is not in all control of that ship. Clearly not. Especially after the experience with the shuttlecraft, you should have realized, Book didn't do that. Tarka did that. There should have been a conversation between Non and Burnham at that point where she says, hey, this is getting out of hand because Book saved the people, but clearly Book is not making all of the decisions.
Right.
So you got to think about, you trust Book, but how do you trust Book to be able to control Tarka? That's a whole different question.
Yeah.
And he couldn't do it,
Dude, while Michael was in that shuttle looking at Book, to the thing, I thought she was gonna like have a look of shock and like Tarkin was just gonna like shoot Book through the head. Like I seriously thought he was just gonna shoot him through the head, dude.
Damn.
That's what I thought was gonna happen.
That's cold.
I knew he was. When he didn't, I was like, he's still gonna pull some shit.
Oh yeah.
I knew, and like Book should have known when he was like started giving that speech. I was like, like come on, just cut him off, dude. Don't let him finish.
Yeah,
when he finishes this,
when a villain, and like he's clearly a villain. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
When someone starts monologuing like that, do not let them finish. Like, what are you doing?
This is what happens when you spend all your time smuggling and not watching TV.
Especially about game theory. Anytime someone starts talking about game theory, they're clearly a villain.
Like, ah, shit. Like game theory, you can't. If you start talking about, the art of war, just snuff them, snuff them out, just quickly get it done. Are you familiar with Sun Tzu? Oh God, just kill him.
just shoot first. Shoot first. Han shoots first, right? Yeah, I know that thing.
I don't know.
I don't know. The one I saw, he didn't. Clearly, the best one.
There's like a million cuts of that shit. I don't know what happened.
I actually bought Alyssa. It's like Art of War for females in business. Oh. It's like how to leverage from the perspective of a woman in business. She's been working really hard to like advance in business, and so I bought her it's like a book. It's not The Art of War. It's like a book written really recently. It's by a podcast journalist that I like a lot, actually, and she wrote a book about like taking lessons from Art of War and adapting them to like women in business, like trying to climb the corporate ladder. I thought that was kind of fun. Yeah,
I tried to read Art of War and the original.
Yeah,
and it was so confusing to me. I was just I didn't know what to do. It was like if someone mixed Confucius with the Bible. I was just like, I don't know what the hell's happening here. I'm so confused.
Yeah,
I was like, I am not smart enough to understand this. I read the whole thing.
Right.
I retained to nothing.
Yeah, I've like tried to read it a couple of times because like, hey, let's see what this is about, and I have not made it through it. Yeah.
I just keep going back to clips of Smallville and listening to Lionel Luthor being like, "Remember the art of war, son." I'm sure maybe Lionel will help me understand.
I wonder if there's a newer translation that like, you would like better or I would like better.
Yeah, they need to make a Lionel Luthor translation. like have the writers of Smallville come in and write it from the perspective of Lionel Luthor. Teaching Lex how to run the business,
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally. You ever seen that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. Like, you could do that book, but it's like just Rich Dad, Luthor Dad. It's like a book from Lex's perspective about Lionel.
No, it would have to be Rich Dad, Farmer Dad.
Yeah. Luthor Dad, Farmer Dad.
Yeah. Oh, hey, before we get completely off topic, Saru and his special freaking lady friend, man.
Yeah, I liked it. A lot was cool about that. I liked the meditation over the comms. That was just neat that they can do that.
Yeah.
It felt very Demolition Man.
What?
Sorry, in Demolition Man, that's how they have sex, is in VR.
Oh, okay. I never saw that movie.
Oh, you know what I think, man, you gotta see Demolition Man.
I always confuse it with Judge Dredd,
Yeah, that's fair.
And then I'm like, I don't know which one I'm supposed to watch, so I don't want to watch either.
They both have their merit, but Demolition Man is actually like, I don't know, it's a sci-fi movie. It's like it's not I feel like Judge Dredd is too, but Judge Dredd's much more of an action focus.
Yeah.
Demolition Man, while it definitely is action focused, it does a lot to like attempt to predict a weird version of the future, and it has weird things. I saw a meme the other day. One of the funniest things in Demolition Man is he goes into the bathroom and he can't figure out how to wipe. And he doesn't know how to wipe. And he's like, what do I do? All I saw were the 3 shells. And there's just like 3 seashells next to the toilet. And he doesn't know how to use, and they're making fun of him for not knowing how to use the shells. And so I saw a meme the other day where a guy, he said, I like to go into public restrooms and leave 3 shells next to the toilets. Just for those in the know.
Oh my God.
It's very strange.
Yeah, man. I don't know what the hell we were talking about now.
We're talking about Saru and his lady friend, the president of Vulcan.
Right.
And yeah, I liked it a lot. I thought that was really cool. I thought that Culber's take on it was wise as ever. And I liked how forward he was with, like, my professional opinion, you're being an idiot.
Yeah. So one of the things that bothers me about the new future is that, like, remember how, like, in like the 24th century, holograms were like glitchy, and
yeah,
they're still glitchy in the 32nd century. And I'm like, yeah, all these technological advances, you guys can't figure out how to, like, stop the holograms from glitching every few seconds? I'm pretty sure it's just to let us know this is a hologram.
I think that's exactly my take on it. It's like to let you know, because this is definitely less glitchy than the 24th century or whatever. Like the ones that we saw on Discovery the last few seasons have been very like, oh, look how hologrammy it is. Once she settled into doing the meditation, that's what I thought was so neat. It was like they were right there in the room together. They were touching hands. Yeah. They're clearly, like, have established ways to communicate with no latency, and they can touch each other. Yeah.
You know, Sarek was, like, seeing Michael from, like, across the freaking galaxy from systems away. He was listening to her head.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But that was just through telepathy, which is insane. I feel like that was a huge expansion of the Vulcan mind powers.
Well, you know, Spock is only half human. In the original series, he controlled this dude's mind by mind melding with a rock.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, just had his hand up on the rock, you know, and he was like telling this guard, hey, do this thing. So, I mean, he's only half human. Half Vulcan, you know?
Yeah. So, just to get you on the record, anything else about this Discovery episode before we move on to our last 5 minutes where we always just talk about something completely different?
I feel like that's been this whole episode, kind of.
What? We've mostly focused on this episode. Little demolition man here and there never hurt anybody.
Yeah, just, you know, just a sliver of the old demolition pickle. I think I'm good. I enjoyed this Discovery. I like it.
Yeah, man. And I can't wait to see who the 10C is. Like, that's like my whole thing. I'm just like really excited. I feel like we've treaded water a little bit for the last 2 episodes. They've been good, fun to watch, but nothing major's happened.
I am very specifically not looking forward to seeing the 10C because I don't think they're going to be anyone we recognize, and I don't even think we'll see them.
Oh, I don't think they're going to be anyone we'll recognize either. I hope they're not, in a way. I hope they're someone that breaks the whole Star Trek universe open. Like, what kind of connection can we have to outside of our galaxy? We've just never had that before.
We have. Doomsday Machine comes to mind almost immediately from the original series.
Right.
You know, those were like the giant blunts in space, you know, if they created those things.
Sure. Yeah. There could be connections like that. What I mean to say is not that we've never seen anything from outside the universe. Clearly, we've crossed the galactic barrier before and, you know, in these various ways. And a lot of times it's been like single episode stuff.
Right.
If they make contact with an alien outside of our galaxy and it becomes like a stable form of contact. That's what I mean, is like we now like are able to explore and get to know like a species from outside of their galactic experience completely, you know?
I'm always very torn because, you know, I'd love to see freaking, you know, Lazarus or something, you know, or his people, or you know, maybe offshoots from by any other name, aliens from the Andromeda Galaxy.
Sure.
Or, something from the original series or Next Generation or something where they went outside the galaxy or was somewhere else.
It's likely whatever they do will have some sort of Easter egg to that, if nothing else.
I would love to see that, but at the same time, I'm like, man, that makes the universe so small.
Right.
You can't please me. That's the trick. That's the trick. And I think that's what secretly everybody's starting to figure out. Like all these studios are starting to figure out, you actually can't please the fans.
Right. Well,
the better of us are self-aware.
Sure. You can't please the fans completely. What you can do, though, is make a good story. And so, like, stop trying to service every little piece of the fandom and just tell a good story. Yeah. And then we'll write books for the next 15 years about how all that shit connects. You know what I mean? Like, there'll be fan fiction, there'll be official books, there'll be everything. There'll be theories, there'll be, YouTube essays explaining how this version of whoever they're meeting outside the galactic barrier connects, because there was a comm on the table that looked like the same design as whatever other alien race. There's like all this kind of stuff that we will be doing. And that's the way you please the fans, is you tell a good story and leave it open for them to like mill around forever. And that's what's fun about this stuff.
They should leave that kind of shit open a little bit.
Yeah.
Greg Cox and David Mack got to eat.
Are they the writers of books?
Yes, they're they are writers of good books. Yes.
Good
Star Trek. Greg Cox wrote the friggin' Q Continuum novels.
Oh yeah.
I think we both really enjoyed.
Yeah. Well, real quick, to completely leave Discovery behind, great episode, wonderful. To get you on record, tell me about your Peacemaker experience. Spoiler alert for Peacemaker, everybody. The finale played today.
Get me on the record.
Yeah.
I adored the Peacemaker finale.
Oh, me too, man.
I loved it. I felt suffocated when he was under all the wood, when he fell and he was under all that,
I felt like they really got it to a place where I felt like the entire team could die.
If there was a quibble I had with it, it would probably be the torpedo helmet.
Why?
Because she still got up and walked away from it. Peacemaker's like, it's gonna break every bone in your body, probably. I don't know.
He said probably. It did have some sort of dampening force field.
It did. But then she gets up and she's like, gonna go save him. She's like, torpedo helmet or whatever, and then like it just for nothing. Like she just like hit the wall. Like she was such a badass getting down there and everything, and then she just like hits the freaking wall. It was funny, but it was a little pathetic. But,
I loved it. Her falling out of the cow and all that viscera falling on her body and being like, "What the fuck?" was that was so funny.
I enjoyed that,
and him using her as a weapon. Like kind of mindlessly, like I was like, man, you really you are the one that said it might break every bone in her body, and you caused her to use it again.
Yeah,
I guess at that point he'd seen it work once or whatever, so maybe.
Yeah, I loved that they brought the Scabies for All helmet officially into the canon of the show.
Well, did you see that on the previous episode?
Yeah, in the
post credits.
Yeah, in the post credits.
Yeah,
but,
which is not canon, I guess, because it doesn't even do the same thing.
Sometimes they aren't. Yeah.
Yeah, I think generally the post credits are other takes that they improv'd the same section of the show that they improv differently, which is super fun to see. But yeah, that's definitely not what the Scabies helmet did. In the post credit sequence, he's like, "Hey, why would you want a helmet that gave you scabies?" He's like,
Test yourself. Every man should have scabies at least once in his life. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was very worried. I was very concerned for Harcourt.
Me too.
Man, I was like, oh my God, this is just going to be like a shit show. Everyone's going to be dead. And I don't know why. Like, Harcourt is James Gunn's real life girlfriend, so I should have known he was going to kill her off.
You know, I was actually wondering, like, there were a few things in this episode that I felt like seemed like they were, like they weren't explained or they were last minute changes or something. It felt like things could have been a little different. And we just heard that it got renewed for a second season. And it made me wonder if some of that stuff was like intended to be, like maybe she was intended to die. Because it like really felt like they were going to let her die. And I felt like it was very possible he would let one of the team, at least one of the team die.
Well, Myrn died.
Well, yeah, but Myrn died episodes ago. I thought in the finale we might lose somebody. I've been saying on Pandavision, where we've been covering it every week, like it's interesting to see a show about a character that is not important to the DC canon at all. That if every one of these characters did die, like that would be a reasonable business decision. You know what I mean? So like I'm watching this show and I'm like, and I know it's a passion project of James Gunn's. I'm like, and James Gunn has a sick sense of humor. I was like, man, I could totally see this ending with every one of the team just dead. Like maybe Economist survives or something, you know, has his picture, like, which was really, really nice, by the way.
Yeah.
And even the like dye beard conversation at the end of this one was really nice.
That was heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really was.
And like Peacemaker had to like reckon with the weight of his own words.
Yeah,
realize that. Yeah, I dug it. I dug it, man. I thought it was a great show, and I didn't. Like I was telling you before the show, man. A lot of people angry about the Justice League showing up, specifically about the jokes about Aquaman screwing fish. I loved it.
Me too.
We learned that Jason Momoa was in on it from the get-go, was down for it, loved the joke. And then after they filmed it, Ezra Miller heard about it and was like, can I please be on the show? And they shot Ezra Miller's bit on the Guardians Volume 3 set. So I was very pleased about all of that. Like,
and it like totally makes sense to me. Like, it feels like Barry's picking on Aquaman. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like that's actually true, which is how I think it could be taken. But it feels very much like Barry's like, but it's true though. Like, I don't know. Barry and him have that sort of like relationship, I think, now.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, I've seen a lot of people saying like the characters never acted this way. They never had this relationship in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Nope, I can go back and watch Zack Snyder's Justice League when Aquaman is laying on the ground and pointing at Barry like, "You son of a bitch."
Yeah,
like that they totally have that older brother, younger brother relationship.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I thought it was perfect. I thought it really worked.
Yeah, and I was just shocked. And it was so beautifully played because it seemed like they were going to come down and it was just going to be 4 silhouettes and that was all we were going to get. And the joke was enough. Like, that joke was enough of him just yelling, "You're late, dickheads." That's a great joke. Wonderful execution. I love it. And then they waited till they passed to let Barry and Arthur have a conversation, which it just saved that moment for an extra punch of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they got those guys, you know?
Yeah.
It was great. Oh,
I thought it was fantastic.
I loved it. Well, I need to go to bed. I've hear you, man. Driven 10 hours today, and then we did trivia night. We do Marvel Cinematic Universe trivia on the third Thursday on Twitch, twitch.tv/StrandedPandaTV. If anybody wants to join sometime, but we did Marvel trivia tonight, and then we always do a little bit of a hangout with people on the Zoom call afterwards, and it was great fun. I laughed really hard, but man, I'm so freaking tired, ready to go to bed. So tired.
Well, go sink into your bed.
Oh, I will.
Just ease into it like an old man into a cup of soup.
Thank you, my friend. You know what I say to you? Jill on true.
Hey, man. Live long and prosper. That's what I say to you.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.